Have you ever wondered why the quietest person in the room often seems to understand everything before anyone says a word? Why some people notice tension before voices rise, sense endings before they happen, or feel shifts in energy others completely miss? And what if calmness isn't just a personality trait, but a different way of seeing the world entirely? Tonight, we're exploring why calm people notice things others never see, and the hidden cost of living with that awareness. The evening city moves slowly under soft lights. Cars glide through intersections. Windows glow above quiet streets. Somewhere, someone walks alone, hands in pockets. Observing rather than rushing. Calm people rarely appear extraordinary at first glance. They don't dominate conversations. They don't compete for attention. They rarely feel the need to prove anything. Instead, they watch, not intentionally, not strategically, just naturally, while others react to moments. Calm people absorb them. They notice the pause before laughter feels forced, the subtle hesitation in someone's voice, the way a room's energy shifts when one person enters. It isn't judgment. It's awareness. And awareness grows in silence. Most people move through life at the speed of reaction, notifications, opinions, immediate responses, quick conclusions. But calm people operate differently. Imagine standing beside a lake early in the morning. The water is still enough to reflect the sky perfectly. Every ripple becomes visible because nothing disturbs the surface. A calm mind works the same way. When internal noise settles, external details become clearer, small expressions stand out, patterns repeat more obviously. Intentions reveal themselves without effort. This is why calm individuals often understand situations long before others do. They aren't smarter, they're simply less distracted by emotional noise. At first, this feels like an advantage. You avoid unnecessary conflicts. You recognize unhealthy dynamics early. You sense when conversations are drifting toward misunderstanding. You learn when to speak. And when silence carries more meaning. People begin describing you as grounded, observant, wise beyond explanation. But awareness brings a quiet challenge, because seeing more also means feeling more responsibility for what you see. Picture a group conversation unfolding at dinner. Laughter fills the space, but beneath it, tension lingers between two people. Others miss it entirely, but you notice the avoided eye contact, the slightly delayed responses, the polite smiles that don't reach the eyes. You sense the story beneath the story, and suddenly, you face a silent decision. Do you ignore what you notice, or carry the awareness alone? Calm people often choose silence, not out of fear, out of understanding. They know timing matters. They know truth spoken too early can create resistance. They know not every realization belongs in the open. So they hold observations privately. Again and again. Here's where emotional tension begins. The more you notice, the harder it becomes to participate casually. Small talk feels thinner. Arguments feel predictable. Excitement over temporary things feels distant. You aren't disconnected, you're simply aware of layers. Others haven't paused long enough to see. And this creates an invisible separation. You sit in the same room, share the same moments, yet experience them differently. Others feel events, you notice patterns. Others hear words, you hear meaning. The plot twist is subtle. Calm people aren't detached from life. They are deeply engaged just internally, while loud energy moves outward. Calm attention moves inward first, then outward with intention. They process before reacting, observe before deciding, understand before speaking. But because this process is invisible, people often misunderstand calmness as distance, or even indifference, and that misunderstanding becomes its own quiet burden, because sometimes the person noticing everything feels unseen themselves. Late at night, when the world finally slows, calm people often replay moments others forget instantly, not obsessively, just thoughtfully. They connect details, recognize emotional patterns, understand conversations more fully hours after they end. And a question begins to form. If calmness allows you to see so much, why does it sometimes make connection feel harder instead of easier? That question changes everything, because the ability to notice deeply doesn't just shape perception. It reshapes relationships in ways most people never expect. There's a quiet shift that happens after someone becomes deeply calm. At first, calmness feels like relief. Life stops feeling rushed. Arguments lose urgency. Noise, emotional and mental, fades into the background, but slowly, something unexpected begins to happen. You start noticing things you can no longer unsee. Picture a crowded cafe in the late afternoon. Soft music plays. Cups touch tables. Conversations overlap in gentle waves of sound. Most people are absorbed in their own stories, but a calm observer notices something else. A smile held a second too long. A tired posture hidden behind enthusiasm. A conversation where one person listens, and the other waits only to speak again. Nothing dramatic. Just small signals quietly, revealing deeper truths. Calmness sharpens perception. When your mind isn't busy defending itself or seeking attention, it becomes available to observation. You begin sensing emotional undercurrents, the way sailors sense changes in wind. And once awareness reaches this level, interaction changes. You stop reacting automatically. Someone speaks harshly. You notice stress instead of offense. Someone withdraws. You sense fear instead of rejection. Someone boasts. You hear insecurity beneath confidence. This understanding creates patience, but patience introduces a new challenge. You begin carrying knowledge others aren't ready for. You see misunderstandings forming before they happen. You recognize patterns repeating in relationships. You understand outcomes long before they arrive, and yet, you often remain quiet, because calm people learn an important truth. Insight does not guarantee permission to intervene. Imagine watching waves approach the shore. You know exactly where they will break, but you cannot stop the ocean. In the same way, calm individuals often watch situations unfold with quiet awareness. Friends repeat old mistakes. Conversations circle familiar conflicts. People resist lessons life is gently offering them. You could explain, but experience has taught you something difficult. People rarely see clearly until they are ready. So you step back, not from care, but from control. And this restraint, repeated over time, begins to feel heavy. Here's the emotional tension few people talk about. When you notice more than others, you also feel more responsible for emotional harmony. You adjust your tone to prevent conflict. You choose words carefully to avoid misunderstanding. You absorb tension. So moments remain peaceful. Others experience ease. You experience effort. And because calmness looks natural from the outside, no one realizes the energy required to maintain it. You become the stabilizer. The quiet center. The person who notices when someone feels left out. When tension rises, when silence means more than words, but stabilizers are rarely stabilized in return, the plot twist arrives slowly. One day, you realize calmness has changed how people relate to you. They trust you quickly. They open up easily. They feel safe sharing emotions around you, yet many never ask what you notice or how you feel, because calm people appear self-sufficient. Your stillness convinces others you need less, and without meaning to, relationships become one-sided in awareness. You understand deeply, but remain partially unseen. This realization doesn't create anger. It creates distance. You begin speaking less where depth isn't welcomed. You conserve energy in conversations that stay surface level. You choose observation over participation more often. Not from superiority, from fatigue. Because constantly noticing everything can make ordinary interactions feel strangely loud. And suddenly, solitude feels restorative instead of lonely. Night walks become clearer than crowded gatherings. Silence feels richer than conversation filled with noise. But another question quietly appears. Is calmness helping you connect more deeply, or protecting you from disappointment? You start recognizing something subtle. Calmness is not just perception. It's protection. A way of moving through the world without unnecessary emotional friction. But protection, if left unquestioned, can slowly become isolation. You realize that seeing deeply is only half the experience of being human. The other half is being seen, even when you are quiet. and this realization introduces a new tension. What happens when the observer finally wants to step into the moment instead of standing outside it? Because in the next stage of this journey, calm people discover something unexpected. The greatest things they notice are not in others, but in the parts of themselves they've been silently holding back. There is a moment when calmness stops feeling like observation and starts feeling like distance. It doesn't happen. Suddenly, it arrives gradually, almost invisibly, like evening. Light fading from a room while no one notices the exact second darkness begins. You're still present, still kind, still engaged, but something inside you has stepped slightly backward, watching more, participating less. Imagine standing at the edge of a gathering. Soft music plays, conversations flow easily. People laugh, interrupt, react without hesitation. You smile, you listen, you respond when needed, yet part of your attention remains elsewhere. Quietly studying the rhythm of everything unfolding, you notice who leads conversations, who seeks approval, who hides uncertainty behind humor. You understand dynamics almost instantly. And once you see patterns clearly, spontaneity becomes harder. Because awareness slows reaction. Before speaking, you consider impact. Before responding, you sense emotional consequences. Before sharing, you measure whether words will truly be understood. This isn't hesitation. It's precision, but precision changes how life feels. The details become sharper. You notice when enthusiasm feels forced, when agreement hides discomfort, when silence carries meaning heavier than conversation. Calm people often experience moments twice. First, in real time, then later in reflection, hours after an interaction ends. Understanding deepens. You replay tone, pauses, expressions, not obsessively, but naturally, assembling emotional meaning. The way an engineer studies structure after construction, and here lies the challenge. You begin living slightly ahead of the emotional moment while others feel now. You understand what now will mean later. This awareness protects you from impulsive mistakes, but it also introduces emotional restraint. You stop sharing thoughts that might disrupt harmony. You soften opinions before speaking them. You choose neutrality when honesty feels too heavy for the moment, and gradually, people experience only the calm surface of you. They see stability. Not depth. They see patience, not complexity. They see composure, not the constant awareness beneath it. The tension grows quietly. Because noticing everything means you also notice when you are not fully known. You recognize when conversations remain shallow, when curiosity isn't mutual, when others feel comforted by your presence but rarely explore your inner world. And you don't blame them. Calmness teaches compassion. You understand people move at different emotional speeds. Still, understanding doesn't erase longing. There remains a quiet desire, not for attention, but for recognition. Someone who notices what you notice, someone who senses meaning without explanation. Then comes the twist. One day, you realize calmness may not only be awareness. It may also be adaptation, a skill developed from learning that reacting strongly once led to misunderstanding or conflict or emotional exhaustion. So you became steady, you refined your responses, you mastered emotional balance. You learned to observe before engaging, and it worked. Life became smoother. But now a deeper question emerges. Have you become calm or careful? The difference is small yet profound. Calmness is freedom. Carefulness is protection, and sometimes the two quietly blend together. You begin experimenting with something unfamiliar, presence without analysis. You speak a thought before perfecting it. You allow a moment of uncertainty to exist openly. You let silence feel shared rather than managed. At first, it feels risky, almost inefficient, but something unexpected happens. Moments become warmer. Conversations feel alive again. Connection replaces observation. You realize people don't connect through perfect awareness. They connect through authenticity. Through moments slightly unfiltered. Through humanity that isn't fully optimized. And suddenly, a new understanding forms. Calm people notice things others never see. because they've spent years watching carefully. But the deepest things in life cannot be noticed from distance. They must be experienced, felt without full prediction, entered without complete understanding. You begin stepping forward instead of standing at the edge, not abandoning calmness, but softening it, allowing curiosity to replace constant interpretation. And in doing so, you discover something surprising. The world looks different when you are no longer only the observer. It becomes unpredictable. Again, alive again, human again, yet one final realization waits just ahead. Because calmness, when fully understood, is not about seeing more than others. It's about learning when to stop watching and finally allow yourself to be seen. There is a quiet turning point in the life of a calm person. It doesn't look dramatic from the outside. No sudden decision. No visible transformation, just a subtle shift in how they sit with the world. The observer begins to participate. Picture early morning light entering a quiet room. Dust moves slowly through the air. The world hasn't fully awakened yet. For years, calmness allowed you to see clearly. You noticed patterns others missed. You sensed emotional currents beneath ordinary moments. You understood people long before they understood themselves, but clarity came with distance. You learned to watch carefully so life wouldn't overwhelm you. And now, something new begins to happen. You realize observation alone is incomplete. People often believe their role is to understand. To stabilize, to listen, to notice. They become the quiet anchor in emotional storms. Friends feel safe around them. Conversations deepen around them. Chaos softens in their presence, yet anchors rarely move, and over time, stillness can quietly become limitation, because life is not only meant to be understood. It is meant to be experienced imperfectly. The challenge appears gently. You start noticing moments where you hesitate, not from wisdom, but from habit. You almost share a personal thought, then keep it private. You feel excitement, but soften it to remain composed. You sense connection forming, yet hold back slightly, staying safe behind awareness. Not fear, just familiarity. Calmness has protected you for so long that stepping beyond it feels unfamiliar, but awareness now reveals something important. You are no longer protecting yourself from chaos. You may be protecting yourself from visibility. Here comes the final twist. The reason calm people notice so much is not only because they are observant. It's because they have spent years learning how emotions move inside themselves and others. They understand timing, tone, fragility, and that understanding gives them something powerful. The ability to choose openness intentionally. Not impulsively, not recklessly, but consciously. For the first time, calmness becomes a bridge instead of a shield. You begin sharing small truths without overthinking outcomes. You allow others to misunderstand occasionally without correcting everything. You let moments unfold without analyzing their future meaning. And something remarkable happens. Connection feels lighter. Not because people changed, but because you allowed yourself to be visible within your calmness. You discover that being calm was never meant to separate you from the world. It was preparation to recognize sincerity quickly, preparation to avoid unnecessary noise, preparation to invest deeply where authenticity exists. You stop trying to explain your depth to everyone. Instead, you allow the right people to notice naturally. And when they do, conversations feel effortless, silence feels shared instead of empty, presence becomes enough. Late at night, the same quiet moments return, city lights glowing, distant sounds fading, thoughts slowing, but the feeling has changed. You are no longer standing outside life, observing it carefully. You are inside it. Calmly, awareness remains. But it no longer isolates you. It guides you. You notice beauty more easily now, small kindnesses, genuine laughter, peaceful pauses. Because calmness, fully lived, is not detachment. It is clarity without fear. So if you recognize yourself here, someone who notices more than they say, consider this gently. Your calmness is not meant to make you invisible. It is meant to help You choose where your presence truly belongs. And perhaps tonight, instead of analyzing every moment, you simply allow one experience to unfold without interpretation. Let one conversation be imperfect. Let one silence be shared. Let one part of you be seen without preparation. If this reflection stayed with you, there is another story waiting, one about why deeply thoughtful people often find connection later in life, and why that timing is never accidental. You may want to continue there, while this quiet understanding is still fresh.